Pradam to
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, so we continue our discussion on Navavida Bhakti, Canto 7, Chapter 5, verse 23-24, Archanam. So we discussed Pada Sevanam, which is intensely being attached to thinking of the Lord's lotus feet, and of Vaishnavas, which means thinking, serving. Yeah, now Archanam. After Pada Sevanam comes the process of Archanam, worship of the deity. If one is interested in the process of Archanam, one must positively take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and learn the process from him. There are many books for Archana, especially Narada Pancharatra. In this age, the Pancharatra system is particularly recommended for Archana, deity worship. There are two systems of Archana, the Bhagavata system and the Pancharatriki system. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no recommendation of Pancharatriki worship because in this Kali Yuga, even without deity worship, everything can be perfectly performed simply through hearing, chanting, remembering, and worship of the lotus feet of the Lord. And this worship is not the Archana worship. Right? By hearing, chanting, remembering itself, one worships the lotus feet of the Lord. And then by following in the footsteps or being part of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, we worship. So this is the Bhagavata Vidhi. In the Bhagavata Vidhi, there is no recommendation for Pancharatriki. And Pancharatriki is the process for deity worship as compared to the Vedic process. Vedic process is very strict. It starts off with only allowing those who are born Brahmanas into the system. So Pancharatriki is what is followed. Rupa Goswami states, Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshidha Bhavat Vyasaki Kirtane Prahlada Smarane Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi Prutu Pujane Akrurastva Bhivandane Kapipatir Dasyeta Sakhi Arjunaha Sarvasvatma Nivedane Balirabhut Krishnaptiresham Param. Parikshit Maharaj attained salvation simply by hearing. Shukadev Goswami attained salvation simply by chanting. Prahlad Maharaj attained salvation by remembering. The goddess of fortune attained perfection by worshipping the lotus feet, the Lord. Prithu Maharaj attained salvation by worshipping the deity of the Lord. Akrura attained salvation by offering prayers. Hanuman by rendering service. Arjuna by establishing friendship. And Bali by offering everything to the service of the Lord. All these great devotees served the Lord according to a particular process, but every one of them attained salvation and became eligible to return back home, back to God. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, any one of the process can give us perfection. But as we were discussing yesterday, it has to be done with the right consciousness. Then it will give us perfection, and it has to be extensive. Extensive hearing, extensive chanting, extensive remembering, like that, not part-time. It is therefore recommended that initiated devotees follow the principles of Narada Pancharatra by worshipping the deity in the temple. Especially for householder devotees who are opulent in material possessions, the path of deity worship is strongly recommended. An opulent householder devotee who does not engage his hard-earned money in the service of the Lord is called a miser. This is very, very important. Opulent, non-opulent, every householder should engage his money in the service of the Lord, otherwise he is called a miser. One should not engage paid brahmanas to worship the deity. If one does not personally worship the deity but engages paid servants instead, he is considered lazy, and his worship of the deity is called artificial because there's no love there. It's just vidhi, and just so that the process goes on, people hire. So specifically here, Prabhupada is talking about opulent householders. An opulent householder can collect luxurious paraphernalia for deity worship, and consequently, for householder devotees, the worship of deity is compulsory. Of course, Prabhupada also said that for those who are remaining within close quarters of the temple, we should not have separate deities at home. We should worship the deities in the temple. In our Krishna consciousness movement, there are brahmacharis, grihasthas, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis, but the deity worship in the temple should be performed especially by the householders. But they have to become qualified for that. The brahmacharis can go with the sannyasis to preach, and the vanaprasthas should prepare themselves for the next status of renounced life, sannyas. Grihastha devotees, however, are generally engaged in material activities, and therefore, if they do not take to deity worship, their falling down is positively assured. So, Prabhupada is encouraging Grihasthas to engage in Archana. So, which is why, at least in our center in Hulimau, it's all Grihastha run, and we encourage devotees to somehow find some time, morning, evening, every day, to engage in some Archana process of worship. Otherwise, like Prabhupada is saying, falling down is positively assured. Of course, this is not that everybody will fall down, but Prabhupada's mood here is that too much people who are too much engaged in material activities and who don't have enough time to do Shravanam Kirtanam much. They're just barely doing their chanting and little bit hearing here and there. For them, there is a high chance of them falling down. But then for them, definitely they should be engaged in some form of archana. But again, it should be done with the right mood. Deity worship means following the rules and regulations precisely. Otherwise, it results in what is called as seva aparad. And seva aparad can be harmful if it is not curbed. If you don't stop intentional seva aparad, then it becomes nama aparad and it will destroy our devotion. So we have to understand, we have to learn the rules and follow them precisely. Actually, the impact of seva aparad is not can't be realized immediately, right? Slowly we will lose taste in devotion. So it's very, very important. Of course, somebody who's doing this seva aparad unknowingly and but doing their chanting very nicely, etc., then nama will take care. But generally, who are doing good japa will also do good deity worship. It's not it can't be that one is doing one and not doing the other. So it's mostly for the lazy devotees who don't do properly. They're going to have issues, right? And lazy devotees will not also chant properly. So if one does all this nicely, precisely, that will keep one steady in devotional service. Generally, householders have children, and then wives of the householder should be engaged in caring for the children, just as women acting as teachers care for the children in a nursery school. So this is not directly connected, but looks like some situation when Prabhupada was writing this purport that wives of the householders were not engaged in caring for children. Maybe so Prabhupada is writing that they should be engaged in caring for children. Grihastha devotees must adopt the Archana Vidhi or deity worship according to the suitable arrangements and directions given by the spiritual master. So this is very, very important. Regarding those unable to take to the deity worship in the temple, there is a following statement in the Agni Purana. Any householder devotee circumstantially unable to worship the deity must at least see the deity worship. And in this way, he may achieve success also. The special purpose of deity worship is to keep oneself always pure and clean. Of course, again, this is with the mood that Krishna is there. Not that it is, a form that Krishna has accepted. Not like Krishna is present there. That should be the mood. Grihastha devotee should be actual example of cleanliness. So this is another major training issue. Most Grihastha devotees are not trained in cleanliness and they're pretty unclean. We see this especially in terms of how they eat prasadam, how they honor prasadam, the way they sit, the way they eat, how clean they leave the place, their understanding of cleanliness with respect to other things. Um, People, they carry their socks in their pockets. I'm seeing something so crazy. It's just like dirty. Mm. Washing hands appropriately, mm, so many things. Grasta devotees are expected to be trained, and see, it's not that everybody can just do this from just without training, because everybody is Kali Yuga, everybody is born into different houses, different cultures, and generally these aspects are lost. So unless they are trained, it can be pretty difficult. One of the things which big challenge is we see that devotees honor prasadam, then get up, walk on the juta, on the like prasadam which has fallen on the floor, or remnants left by other devotees which are still on the floor, etc. Just walk over it without feeling anything abnormal. First of all, it's offensive. Second is unclean. Then they sit such that their plates are on the mats. They don't teach children because they themselves don't know. Children also spill food, prasadam all over the place. Mats are all contaminated. I mean, so many things. The basics. Now, if why is this required? Because if they don't know cleanliness, they can't do deity worship. Because deity worship has to be done with utmost purity and cleanliness, right? So the purpose of deity worship is to keep oneself always pure and clean. And without be doing this, we can't do deity worship. And there are so many rules. So somebody who is wanting to do archana should be serious about following those rules, because we are directly engaging with Krishna. So it's not you can't take it easy. Deity worship should be continued along with hearing and chanting. Therefore, every mantra is preceded by the word Namaha. In all the mantras, there are specific potencies of which the Grihastha devotees must take advantage. There are many mantras preceded by the word Namaha, but if one chants the holy name of the Lord, he receives the result of chanting Namaha many times. So this is all Brahmin initiated stuff. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can reach the platform of love of Godhead. One might ask then, what is the necessity of being initiated? The answer is that even though the chanting of the holy name is sufficient to enable one to progress in spiritual life to the standard of love of Godhead, one is nonetheless susceptible to contamination because of possessing a material body. So this is very important to understand. So we don't have to take initiation to go back to Krishna. But Prabhupada is saying one is nonetheless susceptible to contamination. So how does that answer? How does that answer the question? So Prabhupada is saying two things. One is one has to surrender to the spiritual master so that he doesn't become susceptible to the contamination, to material contamination. Number one. Number two, special stress is given to the Archana Vidhi. One should therefore regularly take advantage of both the Bhagavata process and Pancharatriki process. But importantly, Bhagavata process is sufficient. But just if Grihasthas are too materially attached, Pancharatriki process is supposed to pull them out of that attachment. For example, somebody is attached to clothes, become attached to clothes, for the Lord. Somebody is attached to decoration, decking themselves up, do that for the Lord. So that is a Pancharatriki Vidhi, which takes away focus from our body and brings focus to the body of Krishna, to the form of Krishna. But if somebody engages in Bhagavata process, dives deep into the Bhagavata process, it is good enough. It's not that, but yeah, Pancharatriki process will definitely aid the surrender, the progress. Deity worship has two divisions, namely pure and mixed with fruitive activities. For one who is steady, deity worship is compulsory. One who is steady, which is Nishta. Observing the various types of festivals such as Sri Janmashtami, Ramnavami, and Narasimha Chaturdashi is also included in the process of deity worship. In other words, it is compulsory for household or devotees to observe these festivals. Now let us discuss the offenses in deity worship. The following are offenses: to enter the temple with shoes, or being carried on a palanquin, or even stopping right in front of the entrance in getting out from the car. It's as good. Not to observe prescribed festivals, avoid offering obeisances in front of the deity, offer prayers in an unclean state, not having washed one's hands after eating, or any other form of unclean state. To offer obeisances with one hand, this also many devotees do. Circumambulate directly in front of the deity, not acceptable. Why is it not acceptable? Because we should not show our back to the deity. To spread one's legs before the deity, also applicable for small children. So parents have to note this. Sit before the deity while holding one's ankles. This is one very common. I did this once, when His Grace Vasugosh Prabhu was in our temple and I was sitting right in front. I did this to sit before the deity. The altar was open and it's also not, yeah, not right to do it even in front of a senior Vaishnavas. Holding one's ankles with one's hands. So then immediately Vasugosh Prabhu said, this is Seva Aparadha. So it's important to note this. Lie down before the deity, eat before the deity. This we have discussed multiple times. Which is why any form of prasadam should not be distributed within the hall, the main deity hall. It should be done outside, because otherwise it becomes seva aparad. So now whoever is encouraging it and whoever is doing it, both of them are affected. Speak lies before the deity. Yeah. Address someone loudly before the deity. We just forget that the Lord is there and we just shout. We can't do that. Talk nonsense, cry before the deity. Of course, this is, if it is spiritual emotions, then it's different. But this is mundane crying. To argue before the deity, to chastise someone before the deity, to show someone favor before the deity. So this also should not be done. So to use harsh words before the deity, to wear a woolen blanket before the deity. I don't know why this is, but to blaspheme someone before the deity, to worship someone else before the deity, except Guru, Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastra. Nobody else should be worshipped. To use vulgar language, to pass air, to avoid very opulent worship of the deity, even though one is able to perform it. To eat something not offered to the deity. Avoid offering fresh fruits to the deity according to season. To offer food to the deity which has already been used or from which has been given to the others. Sit with one's back toward the deity. Offer obeisances to someone else in front of the deity. Not to chant proper prayers when offering obeisances to the spiritual master. Praise oneself before the deity. Blaspheme demigods. Worship of the deity. These 32 offenses should be avoided. Then also Vara Purana talks about more. This is all from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. To eat in the house of a rich man. And to eat in the house of a rich man? Okay, I didn't know this. To enter the deity's room in the dark. To worship the deity without following regulatory principles. To enter the temple without vibrating any sound, which is why there's a bell. So we should do that, or knock on the door. To collect food that has been seen by a dog. Break silence while offering worship to the deity. We should not break silence when offering worship to the deity. To go to the toilet during the time of worship. To offer incense without offering flowers. So first we had offered flowers. We should have offered flowers. Then we should offer incense. To worship the deity with forbidden flowers. No, what are forbidden flowers? One like that red, what is that called? What is offered to Lord Shiva?
Dhatura.
Huh?
Dhatura, Bale, and all that, right?
I don't know. In South India, it's called something else. What is it called?
Bilpatra, Prabhu.
Bilpatra. No, not Bilpatra. No. What is that? That red color. What is that flower called?
Hibiscus.
Hibiscus. Yes, hibiscus is not allowed. Then Of course, red hibiscus specifically, because I think in what is that? Chaturmasya worship, or maybe in Bhishma Panchak or something there, somewhere there is pink flower allowed, I think, or something like that. Anyway, I'm not an expert in this. To begin worship without having washed one's teeth, which is also true for chanting. We should not chant without having washed our teeth. To begin worship after sex, to touch a lamp, dead body, or a woman during her menstrual period. Now, this is very, very important. Touch a lamp, dead body. This, okay, which this can be avoided. This obviously can be avoided. This one is difficult because, in case, because you're coming in the, public, or somebody has touched somebody who's during her menstrual period, and then, it just becomes somebody else, then chain reaction. So, which is why even, Matajis who are unclean state should not come anywhere near the temple, because somebody might just touch them inadvertently, and then they won't take bath, and then like that it'll go on. So we should also not put red or bluish clothing. No, the idea is that should not be wearing clothes which are very flashy. Unwashed clothing, yes. Clothing of others of soil or soiled clothing, okay. Other offenses are to worship the deity after seeing a dead body, to pass air before the deity, show anger before the deity, worship the deity just after returning from a crematorium. So all this means one should have taken bath. Basically, that's what it is. Without doing that, it's a seva aparad. After eating, one should not worship the deity until one has digested this food. Nor should one touch the deity or engage in any deity worship after eating safflower oil or hing. Oh, so these so many small, small, small rules. In other places, the following offenses are listed: to be against the scriptural injunctions of Vedic literature, or to disrespect within one's heart Srimad Bhagavatam, while eternally falsely accepting its principles, to introduce differing shastras, to chew pan and betel before the deity, to keep flowers for worship on the leaf of a castor oil plant, to worship the deity in the afternoon, okay, which means, I don't know what this is. To sit on the altar or to sit on the floor to worship with the deity without a seat. This is very, very important. To touch the deity with left hand while bathing the deity, we should not touch with left hand. To worship the deity with a stale or used flower, to spit while worshipping the deity, to advertise one's glory while worshipping the deity, to apply tilaka to one's forehead in a curved way, to enter the temple without having washed one's feet, to offer the deity food cooked by by an uninitiated person, should not be offered to the deity. So this is a high standard. To worship the deity and offer bhoga to the deity within the vision of an uninitiated person. So when bhoga is offered, only brahmanas should be there. Here uninitiated means brahmana in terms of with respect to deity worship. To offer worship to the deity without worshipping Vaikuntha deities like Ganesha, of course, we don't do this. To worship the deity while perspiring, to refuse flowers offered to the deity, to take a vow or oath in the holy name of the Lord. All this. Actually, and it's also said that Seva Prad is not just during the time of deity worship, it's our whole consciousness. And Seva Prad is also not just towards the deity, but it also is towards the Nama, etc. Vaishnavas, all aspects. If one commits any of the above offenses, one must read at least one chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This is confirmed in the Skanda Purana, Avanti Khanda. Similarly, there's another injunction stating that one who reads the 1,000 names of Vishnu Sahasranam, can be released from all offenses. Harinam is important, is sufficient, but anyway, Prabhupada is giving other options. In the same Skanda Purana, Reva Khanda, it is said that one who recites prayers to Tulasi or sows a Tulasi seed is also freed from all offenses. Similarly, one who worships the Salagrama Shila also be relieved of offenses. In the Brahmanda Purana, it is said that one who worships Lord Vishnu, whose four hands bear a Kanka Chakra Gada Padma, can be relieved from the above offenses. In the Adivara Purana, it is said that a worshipper who has committed offenses may fast for one day at the holy place known as Shaukarava and then bathe in the Ganges. In the process of worshipping the deity, it is sometimes enjoined that one worship the deity within the mind. In Padma Purana Uttarakhanda, it is said all persons can generally worship within the mind. The Gautamiya Tantra states for a sannyasi who has no home, worship the deity within the mind is recommended. In the Narada Pancharatra, it is stated by Lord Narayana that worship of the deity within the mind is called Manasa Puja. One can become free from the four miseries by this method. Sometimes worship from the mind can be independently executed. According to the instruction of Avirhotra Muni, one of the Navayogendras, as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, one may worship the deity by chanting all the mantras. 8 kinds of deities are mentioned in the Shastra, and the mental deity is one of them. In this regard, the following description is given in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. We know this story. The city of Pratishthanapura. Long ago, there resided a Brahmana who was poverty stricken but innocent and not dissatisfied. It's very important. He was poverty stricken, but he was innocent and he was not dissatisfied. He was okay with his condition. One day he heard a discourse in an assembly of Brahmanas concerning how to worship the deity in the temple. In that meeting, he also heard that deity may be worshipped within the mind. After this incident, the Brahmana, having bathed in the Godavari, began mentally worshipping the deity. He would watch the temple within his mind, and then in his imagination, he would bring water from all the sacred rivers in golden and silver water pots. See, this is his devotion. He collected all kinds of valuable paraphernalia for worship, and he worshipped the deity very gorgeously, beginning from bathing the deity and ending with offering arti. Thus, he felt great happiness. After many years had passed in this way, one day within his mind, he cooked nice sweet rice with ghee to worship the deity. He placed the sweet rice on a golden dish and offered it to the Lord Krishna, but he felt that the sweet rice was very hard, and therefore he touched it with his finger. He immediately felt that his finger had been burned by the hot sweet rice, and thus he began to lament. While the Brahmana was in pain, Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha began smiling, and the goddess of fortune inquired from the Lord why he was smiling. Lord Vishnu then offered his associates to bring the Brahmana to Vaikuntha. Thus, the Brahmana attained the liberation of Samipya, facility of living near the Supreme Person of God, by just Manasa Puja. So, Manasa Puja is also super powerful. Vandanam. All the prayers are part of deity worship. They may be considered separately like the other items, such as hearing and chanting, and therefore separate statements are given herewith. Lord has unlimited transcendental qualities and opulences, and one who feels influenced by the Lord's qualities in various activities offers prayers to the Lord. In this way, he becomes successful. In this connection, the following are some of the offenses to be avoided. To offer obeisances on one hand, to offer obeisances with one's body covered. I don't know what this is. To show one's back to the deity. To offer obeisances on the left side of the deity. I don't know what this is also. To offer obeisances very near the deity. Oh, left side means like not visible to the deity. To offer obeisances very near the deity. Okay. Dasyam. There is the following statement in regarding to assisting the Lord as a servant. After many, many thousands of births, when one comes to understand that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, one can deliver others from this universe. If one simply continues to think that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, even without performing any other process of devotional service, he can attain full success, for simply by this feeling, one can perform all 9 processes of devotional service. Even without performing any other process, he can attain. But simply by this feeling, so powerful. Sakyam, in regard to worship the Lord as a friend, the Agastya Samhita states that the devotee engaged in performing devotional service by Shravanam and Kirtanam sometimes wants to see the Lord personally, and for this purpose he resides in the temple. Elsewhere there is a statement, O my Lord, Supreme Personality and eternal friend, although you are full of bliss and knowledge, you have become the friend of the residents of Vrindavana. How fortunate are these devotees. In this statement, the word friend is specially used to indicate intense love. Friendship, therefore, is better than servitude. In the stage above Dasya Rasa, the devotee accepts the Supreme Lord as a friend. This is not at all astonishing, for when a devotee is pure in heart and opulence of his worship of the deity diminishes. In the heart, the opulence of his worship of the deity diminishes as spontaneous love for the Supreme Lord is manifested. In this regard, Sridhar Swami mentions Sri Dama Vipra, who expressed to himself his feelings of obligation, thinking, life after life, may I be connected with Krishna in this friendly attitude. So, Sakya. The word Atma Nivedanam refers to the stage at which one has no motive other than to serve the Lord, surrenders everything to the Lord, everything, literally. This is Atma Nivedanam, and performs his activities only to please the Supreme Person of Godhead. So, given everything up to the Lord, no material activities, nothing, completely dependent on the Lord, performing his activities just to please the Lord. Such a devotee is like a cow that is cared for by its master. Cow, helpless creature. When cared for by its master, a cow is not in anxiety over its maintenance. So one who does Atmanivedanam, he is not in anxiety over his maintenance. Such a cow is always devoted to its master and it never acts independently. Very important, but only for the master's benefit. Some devotees therefore consider dedication of the body to the Lord to be Atmanivedanam, and as stated in the book known as Bhakti Viveka. Sometimes dedication of the soul to the Lord is called Atmanivedanam. The best examples of Atmanivedanam are found in Bali Maharaj and Ambarish Maharaj. Atmanivedanam is also sometimes found in the behavior of Rukmini Devi at Dwaraka. Completely offering, surrendering oneself, kaya, vacha, manasa, body, mind, and words to the Supreme Lord, and just living only to please the Supreme Lord. No material activity here, completely. Because maintenance is also given up in the hands of the Lord. So yeah, one of these or one or more of these, if done properly, can result in perfection. And because all these initially seem like impossible, Atmanivedam, Sakhyam, Dasyam, we don't know, we don't have anything to offer prayers, we don't know, we are not qualified. We can't do Archanam because we are not at all qualified. We come into devotion. Then Shravanam Kirtanam. So that's the reason why the whole focus is on Shravanam Kirtanam. But as we make progress in devotional service by Shravanam Kirtanam, now obviously we will develop attachment to these other angas also. Or it might just remain attraction towards Shravanam Kirtanam also, which is also nothing, there's nothing wrong in that. There's no compulsion that one has to do Pancharatriki worship. But yeah, if one is materially attached, then it's recommended that he does Pancharatriki worship. But just by this Bhagavata Vidhi, Tavanam Kirtanam, we can achieve perfection. Okay, so I'll stop here. Anyway, I think it's, yeah. How many more shlokas are there in this 25? Oh, yeah, lots are there. So, okay, so we'll stop here. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Any questions, comments?
Yes, Ruji, Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
yeah. Sorry, Prabhu, I didn't see your raised hand. Yeah,
No issues.
yeah.
So, one thing, Ruji, that Mansik puja, right? Like that
Mhm.
Brahmana did. So, that should be done only if we are not able to do physical service, right? Or it can be
No,
done.
it can be done. I mean, see, basically now you are in office. You can,
Mhm.
you feel like you're inspired to think about the Lord mentally, offer worship to Him. It's, yeah, you can do it. There's nothing like this or that. Manasa puja is acceptable. That's all. Depends on what everybody's situation is. One can offer, one can do Manasa puja.
Yeah, but then let's say if we have altar at home and we are not,
Yeah, it's not a replacement.
yeah,
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 in the sense, when you can actually do it, you should do it. Not that
yeah,
your altar is in front of you, they front of you, and then you're doing Manasa Puja. You're not getting flowers from anywhere. You're not getting doing any
correct, yeah,
agarbatti
yeah,
archan. Not like that. That's laziness,
yeah, that's
right?
lazy.
Like, but yeah, you are so attracted. Some devotee might be so attracted to their deity form that they're elsewhere. They're not near the deities, but they just feel like offering some flowers or offering some nice clothes, ornaments, whatever. I mean, this is all spontaneous, right? It's for
Yeah,
spontaneous devotees, right? But yeah, and special situation for Vaidhi devotees like this Brahmana who didn't have any means to worship the Lord, so he's doing it as a regular affair. Yeah, but for others, it's okay to do whenever we feel our heart wakes up from the slumber and we feel like doing offering something to the Lord, we can. Nothing stops us.
yeah. And I think in the beginning of the purport, it was mentioned that generally the body is considered dirty, right? So, so that is like the like it the body comes with sweat and mucus and all that. That's the reason, or is it like the internal dirt? Like
No, no,
all.
no. External dirt only. Mind body is dirty. I mean, I'm saying that is the
Yeah.
reason why, it's very simple. Like I keep seeing most devotees have this bad habit of bringing their hand to the mouth, right? And
Mm.
then it doesn't even occur to them that they have touched their mouth, right? And
Yeah.
without washing their hands, they go on with their work, right? Touch your feet, scratch your feet, or any of the, holes in the body. You have to wash, you have to clean. It's like there's so many rules, right? And we are so untrained that you just, yeah, just, yeah. So we have to be extra, especially, which is why, as anybody entering the altar, especially, should be like super careful.
Yeah.
Should be really clean. I mean, follow all these rules, and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Reading this purport felt like if somebody sees me, then they get contaminated.
No,
Uh,
I mean, no, so all of us, we have our own, yeah. But yeah, it's the important thing is to get, mm, these are instructions, and we should try to follow them.
yes, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, things like, for example, sleeping, we sleep for more than half an hour, 45 minutes, then we should get up, take bath, things like that. So everything, everything, the whole body is, yeah, just unclean. And we touch our hair, we have to wash our hands like that. So yeah, it's pretty tough. Which is why being a Brahmana is super tough. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, so we will stop here, and I'm not available till Wednesday, next Wednesday, so we won't be having our morning classes. Yeah, so then we will continue from where we left next Wednesday, Krishna willing. Okay, so we will stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Panchakalpatarubhyascha कृपा सिंधुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय समवेत गौर भक्त की जय हरे कृष्ण